Hey YouTube fam, thanks so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to today's practice. These are some flows and movements that I've been incorporating into Akula recently, as well as into my own practice, and have been loving them. And I think that you will too. We're gonna do quite a bit of flowy movement today, definitely some spice, as well as quite a bit of mobility work, specifically for the hips, for the ankles, for the feet. You already know, but I do have an online yoga membership website called Akula, where I upload at least 3 new classes a week. We also have guest teachers and classes of all lengths and shapes and sizes for everybody. And I have teacher trainings coming up as well as retreats. So I'll put all of the things in the links below. You know where to find them. Follow me on Instagram at Nicole Collective. I post all the updates regularly there. And for now, you came here to move. Let's move. Join me in a seat to start. Seated on the shins. Did I say to have some blocks nearby? I'm not sure if I said that. Have a couple blocks nearby. All right, close down the eyes. Pulling yourself into an internal space. As humans, we get to be in this dance, this constant dance of being with ourselves in an internal way and being with each other and in the world in an external way. And one of my favorite quotes or contemplations comes from Mark Nepo. It's about finding a balancing point where we can listen in both directions. We can hold on to our inner space, and we can be in the outer space, and we can flux and flow and dance between the two with ease and with grace and with intention. Take a slow and steady breath in through the nose. Feel the belly expand as you do. A silent breath out through the nose, make it slow, and as you do, a slight contraction of the core muscles, inviting the navel in towards the spine. We'll do that 2 more times, breaths that are long and slow. Through the nose, breathe in, feel the belly expand, the low ribs flare out just a little. Hold the top for a moment, linger in that space between, and then a contraction of the core muscles as you find a breath out through the nose that is long and slow and silent. One last time, and you might not be exactly synced up to my rhythm, and that's okay. But a slow breath in through the nose. Engage the muscles of the core as you invite the navel into the spine. Emptying out slowly, with rhythm, all the way to the bottom. And when you meet the bottom of your breath, hold there. It's likely going to be a little bit more uncomfortable than holding the top of the breath. That is normal. Be here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Inhale to the top. And let it go. Breath finds its rhythm as you attune to the sounds of the room, the sounds of the space, maybe the sounds outside the room. And when you find yourself ready for it, tabletop position. So make your way wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And to start here, let's just circle the wrists around. And let this movement be whatever it is intuitively. So that might be simple circles with the wrists. It might be that the body is ready to move in other ways, getting the shoulders, the spine, the hips, the head, the neck, the side bodies involved. Maybe that rolls you right into some cat-cows. Inhales that drop the belly and open the heart. Exhales that round through the spine. Take just 1 or 2 more cycles here, just like this. And then as you find middle, crawl it out, puppy pose. Hands walk forward, grip the finger pads into the mat, and let the chest sink down towards the floor. Tuck onto the toes in this puppy pose. And again, as you press the palms into the floor and invite the chest towards the mat, you might get a little bit heavier through the heart space and grip the finger pads into the mat to help find that traction of the heart downward. Okay, toes are tucked under. Go with me here. We are going to walk ourselves all the way to a forward fold at the back of the mat. So little walks with the hands, little steps with the hands toward the tabletop first. And then along the way, start to lift the knees and keep crawling the hands back until you land all the way in a forward fold at the back of the mat. And as you get there, generous bend into the knees, clasp opposite elbows, and sway it left and right. Maybe it's a sway, maybe it turns into a bit of a bounce. Okay, we just came from puppy pose. Let's walk it back there. So as the hands find the mat and you start to find a bend into the knees, crawl it forward. Eventually, the knees will find the mat. Keep walking the hands forward until you can sink the heart down. So hips are lifted, knees are underneath the hips. Gaze is forward towards the thumbs. Be here just for another breath or two. And then one more time, walk it all the way back. Forward fold at the back of the mat. Take your time getting there as the hands walk back, the knees lift. You peel the feet to the floor, the hips to the sky, clasp opposite elbows and sway left and right. As you release the fingertips down to the floor, one vertebrae at a time, inhale rolls you all the way to stand. Sweep the hands up and over once you get there. And on your exhale, cactus out the elbows and open the heart, sliding the shoulder blades down the back body. In breath, hands reach all the way to sky. Out breath, forward fold, bring it all the way down. Walk it out, downward facing dog. So this time hands walk forward, shoulder width distance, heels lift from the mat. Come up really high onto the toes, like driving off the balls of the feet. And then send the heels as close to the mat as you can. They may or may not come all the way to touch. And then 2 more times, drive off the balls of the feet. Maybe so far that you're just on the big toes. And then drive the heels down towards the floor. And then 1 more time, drive off the ball of the foot. And then send the heels all the way down. Now, come up onto the toes, bend into the knees. Find this kind of crouching shape like you are going to go to child's pose, except the knees stay lifted. Hover the right toes off of the mat. Drop them back down. Hover the left toes off of the mat. Drop them back down. Can you hover the right palm to 1 inch above the floor? Just lift it a little. Drop it back down. Can you hover the left palm off of the floor? Left palm lowers. As you lift the hips, let that start a wave that rolls up the back body, moving you all the way to your plank shape. Bend into the elbows once you get there, lower halfway, Chaturanga. Press right back to the top, and then as you make it to the top, bend into the knees, pull the heart back and the hips back, that same shape we were just in. And we're going to repeat this a few times so you'll get the hang of it. Lift the hips, wave it forward, meet your plank shape. Bend the elbows, lower half. Press to the top, plank pose. Bend the knees, pull the heart and hips back. Lift the hips, roll it through, find your plank pose. Either hold the top or lower half. Press to the top, bend the knees, pull the heart and hips back. Let's go 2 more, building heat. Lift the hips, wave it forward. Welcome to hold the top or you lower half. Press to the top, last one, bend the knees, pull the heart back, pull the hips back. Lift the hips, you wave it forward, find your plank pose, pause. Lower to the belly in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. By the way, knees can always come down to the floor. Final 3, 2. Lower to the belly and lift it right up, locust pose. Squeeze the shoulder blades onto the back. Think of driving the elbows towards the hips. Heels pull into each other. 1 more full cycle of breath here. And then release and lower it right back down. Plant the hands, tuck onto the toes. Knees are either grounded or lifted. We press to the top in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Plank pose. Wave it back, down dog. Come up onto toes, bend into knees. On your exhale, step, walk or hop the feet to the top of the mat. Find your forward fold. Into sun A's, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, bring it all the way to stand. On your exhale, forward fold, bring it right back down. Inhale, halfway lift, you lengthen. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, it's your vinyasa. If you want your crow pose or your inversion along the way, you can take it. Full permission to skip the vinyasas at any point and step it right back. I'll cue us through a few more. Feel free to move at your own pace. Come onto toes, bend knees. Exhale, step, walk, hop, or handstand. Feet to top of mat, forward fold. In breath, halfway lift. Out breath, you fold. In breath, rise to stand. Sweep the fingertips up and over. Exhale, forward fold. Bring it all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold, plant hands. Any movement that you like along your way to a down dog. And when you get to your down dog, let one thing roll into the next. Come onto toes, bend into knees. Exhale, feet to top of mat, forward fold. In breath, halfway lift. As you exhale, you fold. Inhale, rise, bring it all the way to stand. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. As you exhale, you fold, planting hands, vinyasa, anything you want to add along the way. Making your way eventually to a downward facing dog. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high. Option to stay here or to bring the left hand back by the left hip. And as you press the floor away from you with the right palm, again, I'm going to throw out some options. You can stay here or you could play with a little bit of a shift forward. Can you pull the right knee to tap the right elbow? And whatever shape you've landed in, be there for 5, 4, 3, 2. Kick the right foot up and back if it's gone elsewhere. And as you plant the left hand to the mat, pull the right knee into chest and step the right foot through. Open it straight to your goddess pose. Left toes point left, both knees bend. Sink deep into the shape. Bring the arms directly up overhead. Pull the shoulders back on top of hips. Think of tucking the tailbone down, but driving the knees wide. Sink a little bit deeper into it. Imagine that you could sink the hips below the height of the knees. Pull the thumbs to the space behind you, but then again, knit the low ribs in. Take one more full cycle of breath here. And then maybe you sink even a little bit deeper than that. As you exhale, lift the hips, find a forward fold. So pivot the feet out so that they're parallel to the ends of the mat. And then on an inhale, halfway lift, you lengthen. Exhale, fold, crawl it around so that both hands come to the inside of the right foot at the top of the mat. Drop the hips low. Left hand comes either to the floor or to a block. Reach the right fingertips forward, right thumb points up to the sky. Now bend into the left elbow, think Chaturanga with the left arm, sink deep into it. Straighten the left elbow to the top. 2 more times, left elbow bends, you sink into it. And then drive it to the top. 1 more time, left elbow bends, find your depth. Can you reach the left fingertips to meet the right fingertips and be here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Bring just the left hand back down to the floor, low horizon pose. Roll to the outside edges of the feet and let the left hip drop down towards the mat. So right fingertips point towards the back of the mat. We're going to sweep it all the way around, Skandasana at the back of the mat. So as you swivel to the left, roll the left foot flat, and then crawl the hands all the way back so that the hips can find the left heel. Right toes are pointed up to the ceiling. You dig the right heel into the mat. And then imagine that you were sliding the right heel all the way to the left heel as you pull it all the way forward, half moon pose. So weight comes into the right foot, left toes and left fingertips reach high. Now you've got options. Right hand can always be on a block and you can stick with the shape you've just landed in and be here. Or can you find a pretty generous bend into the right knee? Like a really generous bend into the right knee. Now can you reach the right arm forward to the front of the room? Possible that the left arm also reaches forward to the front of the room. Possible that you bend a little deeper into the right knee. Can you roll the left hip and the left shoulder open? And then reverse your warrior. Left foot finds the back of the mat, left hand to the left thigh, right fingertip sweep up and over. Exhale, cartwheel, hands to the floor, frame out the right foot. Three-legged down dog, you kick the right toes back, bend knee, open hip with the option of rolling it to your wild thing. So right toes could step behind you. And as you drive the hips up, you reach the right arm up and over. On your inhale, unravel through your plank shape. Wrists underneath the shoulders. Vinyasa or skip it. We meet with the hips up and back, downward facing dog. On an inhale, sweep the left toes high. You stay right here or bring the right hand back by the right hip. You stay right here or slowly start to shift it forward so that the left knee can find the left elbow or at least find the reach towards it and land whatever shape you're in for 3 cycles of breath. As you kick the left foot up and back, if it's gone elsewhere, deliver the right hand back to the floor and then pull the left knee to chest and step the foot through. Right to your goddess pose, right toes pivot right. Bend into the knees and sink the hips low. This time, palms come to the heart. And I want you to just find this kind of swivel side to side. Not so much of a swivel, actually. It's more of just a shift, left and right. You might notice the conversation that your feet are having with the floor. See if you can traction your knee way past your ankle. And as you're shifting weight to one side, can you feel the push away happening with your other heel? And all the while, keep tucking the tailbone. Keep pulling the shoulders back to stack on top of the hips. Can you sink the hips even a little bit lower? Now find middle and just be in that stillness. Drive the knees wide. Sink the hips low. As you find your next exhale, lift the hips, move into the fold. On your inhale, halfway lift, lengthen spine. As you exhale, fold, pivot back around to the top of the mat. And again, hands come to the inside of the left foot, so you might shimmy the left foot left a little bit in order to get there. And with the right hand planted either on the floor or on a block, reach the left fingertips forward. Think Chaturanga in the right elbow as you bend the right elbow. Lower the chest like it could tap the mat, maybe it can. And then drive it to the top. 2 more times, right elbow bends. Can you straighten through the back of the right knee? Drive it to the top. 1 more time, right elbow bends. Find your depth. Reach the right arm to meet the left arm. And be here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Right hand finds the mat, low horizon. Roll to the outside edges of both feet as you bump the right hip down. All right, we pivot around, Skandasana to the back of the mat. So sweep it over to the right. With or without the hands, hips find the right heel at the back of the mat. Left leg is straight, left toes point up to the ceiling. Okay, you get to imagine that the left heel is kind of tugging into the right heel. Feel into that pull across the mat. And then start to bend into the left knee, bring it all the way to your half moon pose. Left fingertips to either block or floor or to a hover. Right hip and right shoulder roll open. You might have landed in a half moon pose that you want to be in. Or can you play with bending into the left knee a lot, like a lot, and then reaching the left arm towards the front of the room. Navigating your balance here, you can stay, or right arm could also reach up and over towards the front of the room and give it a couple cycles of breath here. Keep rolling the right shoulder open. Think of scooping the left rib cage underneath you. Reverse your warrior. Right foot lands to the back of the mat. And as you lift it to the top, right hand to the right thigh, left fingertips reach up and over. Cartwheel the hands to the floor, framing out the left foot. Kick the left toes up and back. 3-legged down dog. Either hang out here, bend into the left knee, or roll it open to your wild thing. As you find your inhale, you unravel, hands to your plank pose, hands to the floor, find your plank pose. Vinyasa if you want it. As you land in your down dog, hang out there for a moment. Take an in breath and an out breath. One more time for that sequence. We're going to pick up our pace quite a lot. On your inhale, sweep the right toes high. Option to bring left hand back by left hip. Option to stay there, or pull the right knee to tap the right elbow, and then kick the right foot up and back. As the left hand finds the mat, right knee to nose, step the foot through. Open it right to your goddess pose. Left toes pivot out, bend into the knees. As you find your exhale, lift the hips, move right into the fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, pivot around to the top of the mat. Hands find the inside of the right foot. Reach the right fingertips forward. Bend into the left elbow. And then drive it to the top. Just once this time, bend into the left elbow, pause. Reach the left fingertips forward. Be here for 3, 2. Low horizon pose, left hand to the floor as you'd roll to the outside edges of the feet. Drop the left hip down. Swivel all the way around Skandasana to the back of the mat. Hips find the left heel. Meet the shape just long enough to wind it up. And then roll it to the next half moon pose. Shift your weight into the right foot. Option to stay here. Maybe you bend into the right knee. Maybe right hand reaches forward. Maybe left hand reaches forward. Be here for 3, 2. A slow step to your reverse warrior. Left foot plants. Left hand, left thigh, right fingertips reach up and over. Hands find the mat, frame out the right foot. Kick up and back, 3-legged down dog. Bend the right knee, open hip. Maybe you roll it to your wild thing if that's a place that feels playful. Maybe you cactus out the right elbow, pulling that right elbow towards the right hip. Unravel plank pose. Vinyasa if you want it. Last time, last side for this sequence. Sweep the left toes high. Option to reach the right hand back by the right hip. Option to shift it forward, left knee could reach for left elbow. Kick the left foot up and back. As the right hand finds the floor, left knee to chest, step the foot through. Right to your goddess pose, pivot right, toes right, palms to touch at the heart. Give it a little bit of a shift. Left and right as you pull the shoulders back and drive the hips forward. As you move your way to middle and you sink to your depth, take an in-breath. As you exhale, lift the hips and find the fold. Crawl it around to the top of the mat. Hands to the inside of the left foot. So pivoting left foot over to the left or wiggling it to the left. Reach the left fingertips forward. Again, just one full push-up this time. Bend into the right elbow, lower to your depth. And then drive it to the top. Bend into the right elbow, lower to your depth, hold. Maybe reach the right fingertips forward for 3, 2. Right hand comes down to the mat, low horizon, you open it up. Swivel around, Skandasana to the back of the mat, hips find the right heel. Meet the shape for a moment and then let it rebound into the next half moon pose, top of the mat. Left hand block or floor or hover. Stay or bend into the left knee a lot. Reach the left fingertips forward. Reach the right fingertips forward. And then step it back. Reverse your warrior. Right hand, right thigh. Left fingertips reach up and over. Hands find the floor, frame out the left foot. Our last time, kick the left toes up and back. Bend the left knee, open hip with the option of rolling it to your wild thing. Again, maybe you cactus out the left elbow. Think of pulling the elbow towards the hip bone. And then you unravel plank pose. Vinyasa if you want it. Or skip right past. And we meet in a downward facing dog. As you land in your down dog, walk the hands to the back of the mat. And working your way into a forward fold at the back. As you get here, just clasp opposite elbows and find a little bit of a sway left and right. And release the fingertips back down to the floor. Walk the feet a little wider than hip width, and then bend into the knees for a passive squat, malasana. So hips drop low, knees drive wide, tall through the spine, pull the shoulders back. I want you to come as high onto the toes as you can, like really drive off the ball of the foot and lift the heels up. And then sink the heels as close to the floor as you can. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. And then 2 more times just like that. Drive it up. And then slowly lower it down. See if you can control the lower down. 1 more time, drive it all the way to the top. Hold the top, pull the shoulders back a little bit. Knees pull away and wide. See if you can lower the heels to their depth in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now pop up onto the right toes. See if you can swivel, pivot the right knee all the way to tap the left ankle, which is going to require you to kind of move the toes on the mat. And then pivot back open to your squat. We'll find it a couple times side to side, so you'll have some opportunity to smooth it out. Pop up onto the left toes. Swivel, pivot over to the right. Can you tap the left knee to the right ankle? And then roll it all the way open. Come up onto the right toes, swivel over to the left. Pivot open to the right, you get where we're going. Maybe you pick up your pace, or maybe you have to keep it really, really slow in order to keep it intentional. Opt for intentional over speed, intentionality over speed. A couple more times side to side, and then we'll add on. You might even kind of imagine the movement that your femur bone, your thigh bone is having in the hip socket as you swivel it around here. Next time you've pivoted to the right, meaning that the left knee is to the right ankle, pause there. Can you tap the left knee to the floor? And I know we're getting quite spicy in the feet here. Go with me here. Lift the left knee up. And maybe left thigh hugs up to the left rib cage. And then tap it down and lift it up. And tap it down and lift it up. And it's all good if you're not with my pace. Move at your own speed. Breathe into the fire that is happening potentially in your foot. And then lower the left knee all the way to the floor. Untuck the left foot and sit to the left heel. Okay, your top of the left foot is now on the floor. Keep it there. Drive into the right foot. Come all the way to stand. Tuck the tailbones and the hips forward, and then rebend into the knees, lower the left shin all the way to the mat. And then drive it to the top, and then lower it down. Drive it to the top. Lower it down. Let's go one more time. Drive it to the top. Pause when you get there. Hold on to opposite elbows behind the back. Now you're going to lift up and out of the waist and just kind of roll over your own forearms. Squeeze the shoulder blades onto the back body. Now as you release the back bend, possible that you keep the hands behind the back. Can you hinge forward over the right leg into some kind of funky variation of a fold? It's okay if the right knee bends. It's okay if you drop the hands to the floor. Now, from here, we simply bend into the knees and sit the hips all the way back down. All right, we find this on the other side. So release the hands if you've got them. Tuck onto the left toes. Lift the left knee. Pivot open to your squat. I'm gonna have my back to you now. Pivot to the left, right knee to the left ankle. Now to start, tap the right knee to the floor. Keep the toes tucked. And then pull the right thigh into the right rib cage. Tap the right knee to the floor and squeeze it in. Take a couple more times, just like this. Lifting and lowering. Now lower the right knee all the way to the floor. Untuck the right toe, sit to the top of the right heel. And maybe you give yourself a moment here. Breathe into this space. Maybe you feel a flood of energy happening in your right foot. And as you drive into the feet as they are, bring it all the way to stand. Tuck the tailbone, engage the glutes. Rebend into the knees and lower it to the bottom. A couple more times, drive it to the top. Lower it down. Drive it to the top and lower to the bottom. One last time, find the top. Hold on to opposite elbows behind the back, possibly switch out the grip of which hand is on top. And now, and by the way, you can also be holding onto the wrists or somewhere along the forearms as well. Okay, now lift up out of the waist and roll over your forearms. Keep the hips pressing forward and pull the shoulder blades together on the back body. Don't forget about the shoulders here. Shoulder blades towards each other, and the heart is elevating up towards the sky. And then keep the hands as they are and find a slow hinge forward so that you're folding over the left leg. All right, both knees bend. Deliver the right shin to the mat, hips to the right heel. Release the hands if you've got them clasped. Maybe you shake out the arms a little. And as you re-tuck onto the right toes and you lift the right knee up, pivot open to the right. You've made it to your Malasana yogi squat. Either hang out here or crow pose, or if you have a handstand in your practice, you can go towards handstand here as well. Think of driving the elbows into each other or towards each other. Lift from the back of the heart and squeeze the heels into the glutes. If this is cake for you, if it feels quite easy, you can play with lifting a knee off the back of the arm and then the other, or close down the eyes. And rather than finding this shape and then transitioning right out of it, as we often do, be here for a couple more cycles of breath. Give it 3 more breaths. And maybe you're moving in and out. And every time you lose your balance, you roll right back in. That's all good. 1 more full cycle of breath. Make it slow. And then lower the feet to the mat. Lower the hips to the heels. And let's come into a Virasana seat. So as you lean back, bring the knees to the floor, untuck the toes. You might scoot forward on the mat so that you can separate the feet and sit the hips all the way to the floor. If this is too much, you can sit up onto a block, of course. Hands either to the lap or behind you or to the forearms. Or you can lower all the way down to the back body. Along the way, again, broken record here, can you lift the hips just a little bit so you can scoop the tailbone underneath you and feel some more length in the front line of the hips and the thighs. Wherever you've landed, be there for another couple cycles of breath, giving the body the heads up that we are slowing down. And if you've lowered to the back body, let's make our way to forearms first. If you're on the forearms, press up to the hands. If you're on the hands, lean it forward. Let's come all the way to standing on the shins. We'll find one last back bend for practice. I'll talk us into camel pose. If you have the camel to wheel transition, you're welcome to play with that. But knees are underneath the hips, tuck onto the toes, hands find the low back, and as the fingers point down, you roll the shoulder blades onto back body, send the hips forward. As you find the lean back, you're also lifting the heart up towards the sky. Possible that one hand drops to one foot and then the other. If you're rolling towards from camel to wheel, hands lift up overhead, and as you bend into the knees, hands find the floor. You lift the knees and the hips up. Again, very much just options. If you've gone from camel to wheel, we make our way back out. And let's all release the back bend and set the hips back to the heels. Cross over the ankles. Make your way towards a seat, and then actually come all the way down onto the back body. If there's anything seated you'd like along the way, of course, go there. Otherwise, come onto the back, happy baby pose. Hands find the outsides of the feet. Think of driving knees towards the floor on either side of the torso and just finding a little bit of a rock left and right. Maybe you play with straightening through one leg and then the other leg. And when you're ready for it, let's settle into Savasana. Again, if there's anything you'd like along the way, a twist, any last back bends, feel free to go there. Otherwise, land onto the back, palms to face up. Think of sliding the shoulder blades underneath you and imagine that they could kind of scoop up the back of the heart. And I say this often, but if you happen to be someone who tends to rush past or even skip Savasana, I encourage you to challenge yourself, invite yourself to be in the stillness, even if just for 1 full minute. Creating space, creating madhya, gap time between where we get to digest and integrate. And simply be in the intimacy of our own hearts. Important work that we do as humans. So as we move towards silence and you spend these last minutes with you, I thank you for showing up to your practice today, and I'll leave you here. And I look forward to moving with you again soon. Namaste.